First things first, if you skate without a helmet, I am not calling you toxic. I want to explore the reasons why people choose to park skate without a helmet and the devastating risk that comes with it.
Drop it. Yeah.
12,000 skateboarders go to the hospital for head injuries every year. And skating without a helmet almost quadruples your risk. For reference, not wearing a seatbelt doubles the chance of catastrophic injury, which means wearing a helmet reduces the chance of serious injury twice as effectively as wearing a seatbelt. 90% of people buckle up in the car, but only 5% of adult skateboarders buckle up in the skate park. What gives? The risk of not wearing a helmet is getting a traumatic brain injury, or TBI. There's an encyclopedia worth of stories of how a TBI has fucked up a person's whole life.
Aiden Schellings was looking at law schools in 2019, but he had a fun side to him too.
Having a good time, you know, just shredding at the park.
Skateboarding gave him an escape.
Can you hear me, Aiden? Thumbs up.
But after a crash at Green Lake, the 19-year-old nearly died.
And what's our date today?
Craig Hospital.
We followed him to Colorado's Craig Hospital, where therapists struggled talking to Aiden. 2 years later, he's much better, but he's not Aiden anymore.
Aiden's gone. Aiden's no more. Aiden died off his skateboard. So now, Riker is my new name. If you buckle up your seatbelt before you drive in the car, you should buckle up your helmet before you go on the skateboard.
I fell on my skateboard a couple years ago and suffer from TBI now. Constant headaches, memory issues, fine motor issues. I couldn't unlock my front door without serious difficulty and both hands holding my keys. I'd be dead without that helmet. It took me over a year of extensive therapy to learn to walk and talk and function again. Even with my miraculous recovery, what my future holds is grim. From here on, I will age faster than most people as my already damaged brain struggles to keep up with the natural decline of time. My wife will undoubtedly outlive me, and I'll have full-blown dementia at an age where most of our friends will still be active and functional.
The risk may be small, but A, 30% of experienced skaters suffer at least one head injury, and B, the risk is extraordinarily dire.
The person you are before TBI and after are two different people.
So why do adult skaters who wear seatbelts not wear helmets at skate parks? The most common reasons can be divided into two categories. The function of the helmet: it's too hot, it's too uncomfortable, it's too bulky. Or my favorite, I'm so good, I don't even need it. And the second category is the cool factor. It just looks lame. Nobody else wears one. Okay, so I was gonna do interviews and ask people at the park why they don't wear helmets, but the first person I asked said no. And I was so embarrassed and anxiety-stricken, I decided I'm not doing any interviews. I'll do ridiculous things for content, but talking to strangers is apparently a bridge too far. Instead, here's a clip from an excellent video by Brandon Drummond, link in description, who asked his community of bladers why they don't wear helmets, and all those responses fit into the same two categories: the function and the cool factor.
I'm comfortable enough to not feel like I need it. I definitely
It's uncool as balls, dude. I already look goofy. I don't
I
want to
have a
look
very
like
small
poser.
head and helmets look ridiculous on me.
The extra weight on my head gives me vertigo.
Because of not going over 60% power
Because I
level.
never Doesn't miss. Look as
They
cool,
also
does
throw
it?
off my balance.
Does that sound like you? Well, there's a good chance one of them literally is you, considering these are comments on a community post that I put up.
Brandon's video exploring why people don't use helmets was extremely well done, but he stopped short of calling out the root cause. So let's dig in. Don't mind the sweat. To me, the function reasons seem like post-hoc rationalizations.
A fallacious justification provided after the decision was made, falsely implying it was logically connected to the choice.
The function reasons seem like post-hoc rationalizations from people who've already decided they don't want to wear one and are looking for a justification. Oh, the helmet's too hot. Like, yeah, you'll sweat a little more, but you're literally working out. Who fucking cares? Maybe you find the helmet too uncomfortable or bulky. Motherfucker, you're flying around with wheels on your feet, walking onto rails and ledges, defying physics. You'll adapt to object on head within a session or two and never notice it again. Post hoc justifications aside, the other common reason I hear from skaters is the cool factor. Wearing protective gear makes you look like a fucking nerd. The machismo of skating without protection is baked into the culture. This was perfectly illustrated in the 2024 Olympics. 0 men wear helmets in the finals of the street skateboarding competition. But in the women's event, 7 out of 8 athletes wore theirs. Machismo runs rampant in this culture. I once met this exceptional blader skating with a broken wrist wrapped in an ace bandage. I was fully kitted out, pads, helmet, and he said to me, "Man, I wish I could wear that sort of protective gear. It would have saved my wrist." I asked, "Why don't you?" And I'll never forget his answer. "I'm just too vain about looking cool."
I started aggressive skating in the 90s at 12 years old, but quit in high school to become an athlete. I ran track, played ultimate frisbee in college, ran marathons in grad school. If you've watched my video about how to be happy, you might remember how important exercise is for our mental health. This is especially true for me. Taking care of my body has always been non-negotiable, especially as an aging, lifelong athlete. Injuries forced me to stop working out, and the longer I'm sidelined, the more my mental health suffers.
So when I started skating again 6 years ago, I approached it as an athlete. Wearing protective gear was a no-brainer. Do I look macho? No. But the helmet is an accessory. You can use it to fit whatever aesthetic you want. Like, you know, fruit booter. Across the years, I've had some gnarly falls, all saved by gear. I can vividly recall 3 times when my head slammed into the concrete and I popped right back up, eyes wide from the near-death experience, and said, "That's what the helmet's for."
Here's you go. Quincy, you good?
Helmets! I love helmets! There's no way I'm gambling with all that noise at age 41. Oh, look at this. Oh, it's the newest member of the family. This is Pedro. Hi, Pedro. Hi, Pedro. You wanna do a take up here? You wanna let go of my shoulders? To be clear, this video isn't about wrist guards and knee pads. Advanced skaters know how to fall safely, so a freak accident with no pads, at worst you'll break a bone.
I'm also not talking about wearing helmets for all skating. If I'm just on a trail, especially if it's hot, I'm not gonna wear one. I'm very confident on flat ground. City skating around traffic though, helmet of course.
I still think that skating without pads is not the smart decision, but it's not life-threatening. You're not risking brain damage. Which is why I want to talk about the cultural and gendered stance on helmets. I've been park skating for 6 years, 5 hours a week, 24 parks across 4 states. So while my observations are anecdotal, I've logged over 1,500 hours, and here's what I've seen. There are 5 categories of skaters at the park: skateboarders, bladers, quad skaters, scooter kids, and BMXers. But it's only these first 2 that don't wear helmets. Scooter kids, bikers, and quad skaters usually wear them. Scooter kids, as denoted by my mildly derogatory terminology, are generally the youngest at the skate park, and at least half of them wear helmets. The younger the skater, the more likely their parents, appropriately, demand helmet use. Thus, it shouldn't come as a surprise that at least half of the scooter riders are wearing helmets. Good job, gents. We can omit you from our discussion.
Up, up, up. Hi, Sophie. Hey, can I have a kiss? Can I have a kiss?
No. No. The bitch. Park BMXers are also more likely to wear a helmet, which also makes sense. They jump higher than any of the other skaters, safety first, but more crucially, helmets are common for all forms of cycling. It's just more acceptable to wear a helmet on a bike. So let's focus on the big three: boards, blades, and quads. First, these sports are deeply gendered. In my experience, over 90% of adult skateboarders are men. Similar ratio for bladers. It's unfortunate that women have been historically excluded, but it kind of makes sense. Old school skateboard culture was shockingly tribalistic. I remember rollerblading in the 90s, and it was a culture war.
My buddies and I skate down San Diego. We used to go up along Ocean Beach, go about 30 miles an hour, see rollerbladers.
You go to a bar, you sit at a bar, someone finds out you're a rollerblader, you're either gonna get into a fight or you're gonna have to scoot over a chair, or it's especially here in San Diego. I have scars to show for the time where I stood up for rollerblading.
Skateboarders hated rollerbladers, to the point that they kicked them out of the X Games.
Then in 2004, a grating reality check. The rollerblading street skating event is removed from the American X Games, forcing a slow ripple throughout the rollerblade industry.
And very nearly killed off the whole sport with one homophobic joke.
You remember rollerblading? Remember that? Everybody had them. One little homophobic joke killed that entire fad. What's the hardest thing about rollerblading? Telling your parents you're gay. Full-grown adults. Dude, I'm not gay. I don't have the cooties. These mean I suck dick. And they just threw them out.
As you can tell, this wasn't a pro-LGBTQ community either.
No, she rollerbladed, Howard, which is completely legal for somebody to use to tighten their buns up, but if you are a man and you do have fruit boots on, you are gay.
I agree with him. I agree with him.
You're saying that rollerblading is gay, yes?
Yes.
Gay! Rollerblading, trying to get laid, rollerblading is like rollerblading with a deep-fried dick in your mouth. It is a fucking gay-looking thing.
Right. I agree. Rollerblading is so gay, and the helmets are gay. Everything's gay about it.
Terrible.
The furious backlash from skateboarders relentlessly unraveled the sport. I don't think it's incorrect to say that skateboarders mocked rollerblading out of existence. Dave Carney's crew at Big Brother spearheaded a takedown of rollerblading that grew increasingly brazen through the early 2000s. There was a singular theme that ran through the mockery. Rollerblading is completely gay, and bladers are total fags. The word fruit booter was gleefully used to put down bladers to great effect. Big Brother distributed fruit booter stickers and sold t-shirts that intertwined the gay pride flag with the rollerblade logo. A lot of skateboarders, it's horrible to say it wasn't right, but it was homophobia, and that's why everyone called them gay and fruit booters and faggots. Carney cringes when he looks back at some of his anti-rollerblading writings of the 2000s, particularly his use of the word faggot. They were just a problem, he says. They were a pest. They were appropriating our culture, as well as invading our environments. It was like you have termites in your house, you have to get rid of them. And everyone agreed.
And to round out the toxic culture, there was extensive gatekeeping towards femme-presenting skateboarders.
We went to this downhill skate contest last week, and I saw this girl get served up so hard.
Why was a girl skating a downhill contest?
Because they think it's like sidewalk surfing. They don't realize how dangerous it really is.
Some girls can skate, but I personally believe that skateboarding is not for girls at all. Not one bit.
But this misogyny is not from the 90s. This dipshit take was in 2013 from Nyjah Houston. And hey, I already clipped him in this video because he medaled at the 2024 Olympics. He apologized for the comment later, but it still illustrates skateboarding's deep roots as an historically tribalistic, male-dominated sport. Oh, and from that same article,
the worst is when a perfect new skate park is built, and they make people wear helmets that are over 18. Basically just built a park for no reason, because nobody's going to want to skate it, except little kids.
And the helmets are gay. Everything's gay about it.
The blading community wasn't much better. The hatred received from skateboarders was returned in kind, and in response to homophobic labels like fruit booters, the culture adopted a macho bravado that made it a no girls allowed kind of club.
Now tonight, the story of an inline skating company and its motto. Many companies like to reflect an aggressive edge, a competitive toughness, if you will. But the motto for this company has people saying they've gone too far.
Paul, when the company came up with the slogan, "Destroy all girls," they saw it as a marketing gimmick. The slogan appears on the back of the label sewn into the collar of the clothes, so you have to look hard to find it.
So the "Destroy all girls," you'd think that would destroy the company by doing something like that. But it had the opposite effect.
And sure enough, like skateboarding, about 90% of adult bladers I've met have been men. Both cultures are much better now, but if you remember the homophobia and machismo of the late 90s, this history is probably not very surprising. And if you're salty hearing a rollerblader call 90s skateboarding culture toxic, I humbly invite you to go jump in a lake.
Straightest inline skater.
What's the hardest thing about rollerblading?
What kind of tism is this?
Who put the fruit in the boot?
The urge to bully
is a lie. Here to remind kids and parents of stranger danger.
Fruit booting.
Trans bladder.
They're called fruit boots for a good reason.
Fruit booter.
You knew it was rollerblading just looking at the outfit.
The reason why they call them fruit boots.
Anyway, so despite the femmes not feeling welcome on boards or blades, they eventually made their way into the parks on roller skates, or quads, with an appropriately inverted ratio. Only 10% of the quad skaters I've seen have been men, and helmet use follows these ratios quite closely. In my experience, 10% of adult skateboarders are wearing helmets, and maybe 15% are rollerbladers. It's slightly more common. And the femmes? Easily more than half the quad skaters I've seen wear helmets. Maybe closer to 2/3. The men are too macho for protection, and the women, on average, are more responsible. So considering all this compiled data, let's talk philosophy.
We got both animals. We got little Pedro. Hi, Pedro. And then Sophie on the couch. Hi, Sophie. No, stay there. Oh, here's the textbook definition of toxic masculinity.
Stereotypically masculine behaviors and expectations of men that have a negative impact on those men and society as a whole.
Now, you're a smart person. You understand that toxic masculinity as a concept does not claim that masculinity is toxic or that it's more toxic than femininity. Since you're a smart person, you understand that toxic masculinity is claiming that only a subsection of masculinity is toxic. Traits like violence, misogyny, or insisting on carrying all the groceries in one trip. You're a smart person, so you understand that some expressions of masculinity are actually harmful, not just to the people around them, but to the men themselves and society as a whole.
Is that my Sophie? Can you give me a kiss?
You're a smart person, so you understand that healthy masculinity is having emotional intelligence, tempering strength with kindness, and realizing that vulnerability is power. You understand that toxic masculinity does not mean that men are toxic, and so you don't get triggered when people say those two words together, and you certainly don't believe that toxic masculinity is a harmful myth. But let's get back to the skate park. My happy place. Right, helmets. So the scooter kids and BMXers have outside pressures encouraging helmet use. This is inarguably a good thing. So let's focus on our main three. Dude bro super cool skateboarders, no helmets. Machismo chip on shoulder rollerbladers, no helmets. Femme spectrum queer quad skaters, helmets. The pattern is obvious. Male skaters are too macho for protection. Femme skaters aren't. And before you get mad, hashtag not all skaters. And not wearing a helmet is twice as dangerous as not wearing a seatbelt. Not wearing a helmet means you're 4 times as likely to suffer a traumatic brain injury.
The person you are before TBI and after are two different people.
Aiden's gone. Aiden's no more. Aiden died off his skateboard.
And no matter how good you are or how long you've been skating, freak accidents happen. And when the outcome of a freak accident isn't a broken wrist or elbow, but brain damage, it's absolutely insane that skaters opt to just roll the dice, and that the whole skate culture promotes this machismo that literally ruins people's lives. And finally, we arrive at the worst part. The reason why I'm calling this machismo culture out as toxic. Since the de facto stance of skaters is helmets make you look like a fucking dork, this means that younger skaters, who more often do wear helmets, become less and less likely to use them the older they get, because none of the cool skaters wear them. Skating at a park without a helmet is a stereotypically masculine behavior that negatively impacts the male skaters in question, but also skate culture as a whole. This is the literal textbook definition of toxic masculinity. And if you're a father who skates without a helmet, it's not your health you're gambling with. It's the well-being of your children who might have to grow up without their father.
The family wants Aiden's story to serve as a lesson. Wear a helmet.
This is what would happen to your family. This is what you will do to so many people that you love and love you.
So if just one person who watches this starts wearing a helmet and ultimately prevents a traumatic brain injury, the video will have been worth it. And even if it's not your head that's saved, you can help save someone else's brain by doing your part to help normalize helmets. If the ultimate reason you're not wearing a helmet is because of the optics of looking cool and tough, because you think helmets make you look like a pussy, that's not masculine. It's macho bravado. It's performative toughness hiding insecurity. It's caring primarily about what other people think of you, which is the most beta cut-coded shit you can do. Healthy masculinity lies in valuing your well-being over appearing tough and macho, especially in a culture desperate for good influence. And honestly, at its core, skating is performative. We all want to look cool while we skate. We want to look stylish as we defy gravity and impress the hotties. But helmets don't diminish that. You can still be crazy impressive while wearing a helmet. So again, I'm not calling you toxic for skating without a helmet. Not scolding anyone. The point of this video is to get you, the no helmet skater, to interrogate your reason why you choose to skate without one. And if it's really worth the risk to you or your family. And beyond that self-centered reason of protection, I want to remind you that the enlightened skater cares about what example they set for young skaters. I want to remind you that the enlightened skater cares about how their actions affect the community that we all love. But I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
I'm also not talking about wearing helmets for all skating. I'm very confident on flat ground.